Well, I'll say one thing. Tony Khan gets a lot of credit, and he deserves it, for creating an amazing opportunity for so many wrestlers and people around the wrestling industry to make a lot of money. Not enough has been said about him keeping all these belt schmucks in business.
That's the belt makers have never been so happy.
Oh my God, every 3 months is a new belt and a new design and a new look and a new strap. Non-stop.
You used to couldn't get the goddamn promoters to pay for a new title belt if the old one was falling apart and you could see the guy's dick through it.
What would the prices be now compared to what they would have been in, let's say, the mid-'80s or even the '70s, based on what you would know? Like, did inflation match the price of the title belts, or did it come down significantly?
Well, no, now you can, you can
for a
always...
promoter, not for a fan, but for a promoter.
For a promoter or wrestling company, you can always spend as much money as you want to for a belt if you go crazy and, have a wild design and put everything in it. But
like the Nikita Molkovich belt, how much did it cost when it was first?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The cost of the belts adjusted for inflation is probably less now than ever because there's more people making them. In 1991, when I got my Smoky Mountain Wrestling belts, first ones I had ever bought, specifically myself out of my own pocket, I got the 3 done for $1,500 a piece from Reggie Parks. And that was when Reggie was just about to retire and Milliken and those guys were taking over.
But now at that time, there weren't too many other options, right? Now, Adrian Street was doing some sort of belt, I think, at one point or another, and maybe some other people, but what other options would there have been for you?
Well, there weren't that many, and Reggie was the trademark, right? Or Reggie was the go-to guy back then, just as Molkovich had been 10 years previous. Reggie all through the 80s did the belts. Molkovich did a lot of them through the 70s. I don't think the Molkovich belts in the 70s, I don't know that they were $1,500 a piece, but at that point also, that's now $6,000. If it was $1,500 in the mid 70s, it's about $6,000 now.
Right. That's my question there.
Well, and now there's so many, the replica belts now look better than the real belts that the promoters used back then. So the point is, you can have all the belts you want now because there's multiple people making them. Whereas before it was, hey, you got to call Reggie and he's going to be backed up for 6 months. Or, if somebody knew a metalsmith in some territory, that's why you would see belts in different territories that didn't look like any other belt in any wrestling promotion ever. That's when they'd found local people that just did metal work to make something. And that's the only belt they ever made. Molkovich, his books
Vern's AWA belt, right?
Yeah, well, you got that one made in prison, right?
That's right.
But the Jarrett's CWA title belt, the CWA world title with the stained glass in it, it was completely different from looking from every other belt because he had it made somewhere in Tennessee. That's the only belt the guy ever made.
Are the belts? Do you think the belts are too standardized now? I mean, everything's kind of the same shape or the same outline.
Yeah.
Or we see, an homage to an old belt, like a UWF TV title or something.
Not only are there too many of them, but yes, they're all too similar. And the WWF is ridiculous in terms of all the belts being the same, just different color, accent, or whatever. It not only makes the championship stand out, but it makes the guy stand out if he's wearing a belt that looks different than every other belt that the guy in the territory or in that area or in that promotion or whatever has. And that's very uncommon these days. Did you hear the thing? The WWE has teamed up with the NFL, like our friends at DraftKings, to make WWE championship style belts for the different NFL pro football teams. But have you heard they pulled the Jacksonville Jaguars belt? The WWE, it's either not...
Fanatics. I think Fanatics is involved because remember, WWE is a deal with them and Fanatics is the exclusive, I think, merch supplier for the NFL.
Well, yeah, but the point is, in some fashion, whoever's responsible for it, the WWE's not just making NFL belts and bootlegging them and screwing the NFL. It's a deal that they've got with somebody. But they pulled the Jacksonville Jaguars belt. It's not on the WWE website, according to fans on Twitter. And Is that because the Jaguars and the Khans didn't want their belt being sold by the WWE, or the WWE didn't want the embarrassment of selling a belt of a team that was owned by their competitors?
If you were an NFL owner, would you want the league being involved in an exclusive deal like this with a competitor and another one of your businesses getting the rights to merchandise off your other company?
Probably not.
Yeah, if I was Tony Khan, I definitely wouldn't want this.
But I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, or whether there was a mutual feeling. But for some reason or another, this is what I saw on Twitter. Feel free, folks out there, Cult of Cornette, smarten us up on this. But the Jaguars belt was pulled, is not available, not going to be taking place, whatever. We need more details.
Who's buying that? I mean, do you bring it? Do football fans bring their championship belts to the game the way wrestling fans?
I guess they will now. They've never been able to before. They had to wear those cumbersome cleats and shoulder pads and that fucking helmet they couldn't hardly see out of and carry that goddamn football. Now they can just wear the belt.
Well, coming to an arena near you, but we are still talking about somehow. That was Belt Talk, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Well, back to Dynamite.